In the shadows of America's political landscape, a clandestine labyrinth of dark money has infiltrated our democratic process. At the heart of this enigma lies an intricate web of influence, power, and wealth, spun by two brothers, Charles and David Koch. As the sun rises over Wichita, Kansas, the empire they've built, Koch Industries, casts a long shadow, reaching into every corner of our daily lives. This is the story of how the Koch brothers have amassed a fortune and leveraged their wealth to secretly shape American politics to their whims. The Koch brothers' influence begins with their business empire, Koch Industries, a conglomerate that brings in an estimated $115 billion in revenue each year. Charles and David inherited the company from their father, Fred, who established it as an oil refinery and pipeline company in the 1940s. Since then, the brothers have grown the business into a sprawling behemoth, with interests spanning everything from petroleum to paper products, fertilizers, and chemical production. Today, Koch Industries is America's second-largest privately held company, dwarfed in size only by Cargill. The Koch brothers have used their immense fortune, estimated at $50 billion each, to fund a complex network of political organizations, think tanks, and advocacy groups. This web of influence has allowed them to secretly pour millions into campaigns and causes that align with their libertarian ideology, while maintaining plausible deniability about their involvement. The scope of the Koch brothers' influence is staggering. Over the past 4 decades, they have spent or mobilized hundreds of millions of dollars in an effort to shape American politics and public policy. Their efforts have been felt in everything from the fight against climate change regulation to the ongoing battle over healthcare reform, and their impact can be seen in courtrooms, state houses, and Congress alike. As we delve into the story of the Koch brothers and their secret political money machine, we'll explore how they have amassed their fortune, what drives their political activism, and the far-reaching consequences of their actions on our democracy. We will follow the money trail, shining a light on the complex web of influence that has been woven in the shadows of American politics, and reveal the powerful forces working to shape our world out of sight. Delving into the roots of the Koch brothers' political activism, we find ourselves in the early years of their lives, shaped by a father who instilled in them a fervent belief in free market principles. Their father, Fred C. Koch, was an accomplished engineer and entrepreneur who founded what would become Koch Industries. In the 1930s, he developed innovative techniques for refining heavy oil into gasoline, which led to his company building refineries in several countries, including the Soviet Union. Upon returning from the Soviet Union, Fred Koch became increasingly concerned about communist influence and began dedicating his time and resources to fighting its spread. He co-founded the John Birch Society, a conservative organization that sought to combat what it saw as creeping socialism in America. This upbringing exposed David and Charles Koch to an early and intense education in libertarian and conservative ideologies, which would later manifest in their own political activism. As their father's company grew into a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, the brothers took the reins and expanded it further. Their combined wealth is estimated to be over $100 billion, making them among the richest people in the world. This immense fortune has enabled them to wield considerable political influence through their strategic investments in various organizations and campaigns that align with their libertarian values. The Koch brothers' political activism began in earnest during the 1980s when they started supporting candidates who advocated for limited government, free market principles, and reduced regulation. They funneled millions of dollars into think tanks, academic institutions, and political action committees that shared their views. Among these organizations were the Cato Institute, the Heritage Foundation, and the Mercator Center at George Mason University, which have all played significant roles in shaping conservative policies and discourse. Through their early political activism, the Koch brothers learned to harness their wealth and influence in ways that allowed them to avoid public scrutiny while achieving their objectives. This laid the groundwork for the complex web of influence they would later weave, as we'll explore in the next section of The Money Trail. As the Koch brothers continued to shape conservative policies and discourse, they turned their attention to creating a powerful political organization. This new group would allow them to funnel their wealth and influence into campaigns and causes without drawing too much attention. The result was Americans for Prosperity, or AFP, founded in 2004 with an initial investment of $1 million from David Koch. AFP quickly grew into a formidable force, becoming one of the most influential conservative advocacy organizations in the United States. By 2016, its annual budget had swelled to over $100 million, thanks in large part to the Koch brothers' continued financial support. The organization now boasts a presence in all 50 states and claims more than 3 million activists in its ranks. AFP focuses on issues near and dear to the Kochs' hearts: limited government, free markets, and reducing regulations. They've lobbied against Obamacare, climate change legislation, and tax increases, while supporting efforts to cut spending and reduce the deficit. The group has also been instrumental in promoting conservative candidates at both the state and federal levels. But AFP's influence extends far beyond its direct lobbying and campaign activities. Through local chapters, grassroots events, and issue-based campaigns, AFP has built a vast network of supporters who can be mobilized on short notice. This ground game has proven invaluable to conservative candidates and causes, providing a reliable base of energized volunteers and voters. The Koch brothers' involvement in AFP is no secret. David Koch even served as chairman until 2018. But the true extent of their financial support remains murky. While AFP discloses some donors, others remain hidden behind shell corporations and nonprofit organizations, obscured by layers of complexity designed to protect the privacy of the Kochs and other wealthy backers. This labyrinthine network has raised concerns about transparency and accountability in our political system. As Americans for Prosperity continues to grow in power and influence, so too does the need for greater scrutiny of its finances and those who seek to shape our democracy from behind the scenes. At the heart of this tangled web of political financing lies Americans for Prosperity, or AFP, one of the most influential and well-funded advocacy groups in the United States. With deep pockets funneling millions of dollars into their coffers, AFP has been able to wield considerable influence over policy decisions at both state and federal levels. But how exactly does this money flow through the organization? A significant portion comes from so-called dark money, funds that cannot be traced back to their original source due to layers of intermediaries. This lack of transparency has raised concerns among watchdogs who argue it undermines democratic principles and allows wealthy individuals like the Koch brothers to exert disproportionate influence on elections and legislation. A key component in this intricate system are nonprofit organizations acting as pass-through entities. These organizations, often set up as social welfare groups or trade associations, can receive unlimited contributions without revealing their donors publicly. They then pass on these funds to political action committees or directly to campaigns, obscuring the identity of the original contributor. Take, for instance, Freedom Partners Chamber of Commerce, a nonprofit founded by the Koch brothers in 2011. In its first year alone, it disbursed over $250 million to various causes, many of which were conservative think tanks and advocacy groups. By channeling money this way, the Kochs' involvement remains hidden while still allowing them to shape the political landscape. Another player in this game is the Center to Protect Patient Rights, a nonprofit that served as a major conduit for conservative dark money before it was rebranded as American Encore in 2015. Between 2010 and 2013, CPPR distributed nearly $160 million to other nonprofits, many of which then spent millions on political ads. These complex financial machinations have drawn criticism from election watchdogs and lawmakers alike. As we delve deeper into the Koch brothers' secretive political money machine, it becomes increasingly clear that understanding this labyrinth is crucial to ensuring accountability and transparency in our democratic processes. As we continue to follow the money trail, it's important to note that the Koch brothers don't just act alone. They've built a vast network of wealthy donors who together have influenced Republican politics in profound ways. This secretive club, known as the Seminar Network, meets twice a year, often at luxury resorts, to discuss strategy and pool resources. In 2019, for instance, the Koch brothers' flagship group, Americans for Prosperity, announced it had amassed a staggering $400 million war chest for the upcoming election cycle. Much of this money comes from just a handful of deep-pocketed donors. At one Seminar Network gathering in 2011 saw a significant shift in Wisconsin's labor laws, when Governor Scott Walker signed Act 10 into law. This controversial bill stripped public employees of their collective bargaining rights, sparking massive protests and a recall effort against the governor. But what many may not know is that this policy change had deep pockets behind it. The Koch brothers' political network reportedly spent $650,000 on TV ads supporting Walker during the 2010 gubernatorial race, laying the groundwork for their influence in Wisconsin. Fast forward to 2011, and Americans for Prosperity, one of the Koch brothers' primary political organizations, helped gather signatures for Walker's recall petition, not because they opposed him, but to keep the process alive and exhaust democratic resources. Meanwhile, another Koch-backed group, the Republican Governors Association, poured $9.5 million into Wisconsin during the 2010 and 2011 recall elections, with a significant chunk of that money coming from David Koch himself. These investments paid off handsomely for the Kochs. Walker won his recall election in 2012, and Act 10 remained intact, dealing a severe blow to organized labor in Wisconsin. But the Koch brothers' influence extends far beyond state politics. In 2017, they played a key role in helping pass the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which slashed corporate tax rates and benefited wealthy Americans like themselves. The bill was signed into law by President Donald Trump, who had received substantial support from the Koch network during his campaign. The Koch brothers' political machine has left an indelible mark on American politics, with their vast resources shaping policy decisions and elections across the country. Their Seminar Network, which meets twice a year at luxury resorts to discuss strategy and pool resources, exemplifies how a small group of wealthy donors can wield immense power over our democratic process. As we continue to follow the money trail, it becomes increasingly clear that understanding the Koch brothers' influence is crucial to making sense of the political landscape and ensuring a fair and transparent democracy for all. As we delve deeper into the money trail, it's critical to examine the mounting criticisms and controversies surrounding the Koch brothers' political activities. With their vast fortunes, Charles and David Koch have become two of the most influential political donors in recent history, funneling millions of dollars into conservative causes and campaigns. In 2012 alone, their network spent nearly $400 million to influence federal elections, a figure that dwarfs the spending of even the Republican Party itself. This level of financial influence has raised concerns about whether our democratic process remains fair and transparent for all. One significant controversy erupted in 2010 when the Supreme Court issued its landmark Citizens United ruling, which allowed corporations and unions to spend unlimited sums on political advertising. The Koch brothers quickly took advantage of this decision, pouring millions into organizations like Americans for Prosperity, a group that spent more than any other outside spending organization that year. Critics argue that such massive financial influence allows wealthy donors like the Koch brothers to effectively buy elections and drown out the voices of ordinary citizens. Moreover, because much of this spending is funneled through nonprofit organizations that aren't required to disclose their donors, it's difficult for voters to know who's behind the political messages they see. The Koch brothers have faced criticism not just for their spending, but also for their secrecy. In a rare interview in 2014, Charles Koch defended his political activities, stating, "We want a free society, and that's what we're working toward." However, he has been criticized for refusing to disclose which candidates or causes his network supports. Despite these controversies, the Koch brothers show no signs of slowing down. In recent years, they have expanded their political empire to include a university, think tanks, and media outlets, all aimed at promoting their brand of free market conservatism. As we follow the money trail, it's clear that understanding the Koch brothers' influence is crucial to making sense of our political landscape and ensuring a fair and transparent democracy for all. In our investigation of the Koch brothers' political machine, we've traced their influence from the early days of their father's business to their current empire that includes a university, think tanks, and media outlets. The goal has always been clear: promote free market conservatism, often at the expense of regulatory oversight and transparency. To fully grasp the impact of the Koch brothers' political machine on American democracy, let's consider some staggering numbers. Between 1998 and 2016, the Koch brothers spent over $1.4 billion on federal elections alone, shaping policies that affect millions of lives. Their network pledged to spend close to $1 billion in the run-up to the 2016 presidential election, an amount that rivals both major parties' campaign spending. These numbers represent only a portion of their total political investment. The Kochs have also funneled millions into advocacy groups, many of which are not required to disclose their donors, making it difficult to track the true extent of their influence. This lack of transparency is alarming and threatens the very foundation of our democratic system. Despite these challenges, investigative journalists and watchdog organizations continue to uncover the workings of the Koch brothers' political machine. Take, for example, the groundbreaking 2014 reporting by the Center for Responsive Politics and the Washington Post, which exposed how a web of dark money groups linked to the Kochs had secretly spent millions to influence elections and policy debates. It is our responsibility as citizens to demand transparency, fairness, and accountability in our political process. We must support organizations that hold power to account and insist on a level playing field for all voices in our democracy, not just those with the deepest pockets. The Koch brothers' influence is vast and far-reaching, but understanding their impact is crucial to ensuring a fair and transparent democracy for all. The money trail may be long and winding, but it leads us to the heart of American politics and empowers us to make informed decisions about our future. The Koch brothers' political machine has left an indelible mark on American democracy. But the story doesn't end here. As citizens, we must remain vigilant, demand transparency, and hold those in power accountable, for only then can we truly protect and preserve our democratic system for generations to come.